Hey everybody, welcome back to JuJu's Journey. So, today has been a busy day. I'm so excited. Today's Monday, April 13th. It's my birthday month. So, if you've been following my channel for a little bit, you know what my channel is all about. It's this is kind of like my personal journal in trying to find peace and happiness and all those things. I lost my husband. It's been 1 year and 4 months. Actually, on the 11th, it was 1 year and 4 months. Time goes by. I've got goals to meet, and I'm not meeting them. But no, I am. I'm doing good. You know, some days are better than others. But I got my iPad out today, and some photographs popped up. And I'm going to see how I can try to figure out how I can let y'all see them. I haven't turned on my iPad in so long. So I think I will gently try to see if y'all can see this. Do you see that car? Do you see it? Do you see how bad it is? Look how bad. Anyway, those memories popped up today, and it got me thinking. That was the car my daughter was in when she was 16 years old, almost 17. But she was hanging out with her boyfriend. They had a friend of theirs that her boyfriend, which is now my son-in-law, had grown up with since he was in middle school, right? And anyway, they were just hanging out at my Neil's son-in-law's parents' home. And their friend showed up in his mother's car, which was an Infiniti. And I have had an Infiniti. And they're extremely fast. Like, you can just tap the gas and it flies. Like, you can get 0 to 100 like in seconds. And this young guy that showed up at their house, they had hung out with many times. My children are no saints. I wasn't a saint. So I have a feeling, well, I kind of know that they were drinking beer. Not the guy that showed up. But when he showed up in his mom's car, it was already, I would say, like 10:30 at night. And he said, I've got my mom's car. You've got to understand, this person, they were at one of our local judges, like a judge in our community. His parents were at the judge's home hanging out. And this guy who was in high school was there with his parents. He probably went and ate. They probably grilled out. And then apparently the mother and the father both drove their vehicles to go to this judge's home. And so when this young guy was ready to leave, they gave him the keys to his mom's car. Well, I didn't realize until after, well, I mean, I didn't realize anything. But he was drinking with his mom and the judge and his dad. And then he was ready to go when they gave him the keys to the car. Well, my son-in-law had a pickup truck. Normally, if they went riding, they would go kind of out to the country, which is only a couple of miles from where he lived, and ride down dirt roads and listen to country music and just go slow because that's what they did. Because you can't go fast on a dirt road. And so they would piddle, and sometimes they would actually take a golf cart and do this. Well, this particular night, and I'm not condoning drinking and driving. I told my children from the get-go, you'll probably get in trouble if I catch you underage drinking. But you will get in so much more trouble if you don't call me to come pick your butt up if you've been drinking instead of driving. And don't get in the car with anybody drinking and driving. But that goes on deaf ears, right? But this particular night, he picked them up in his mama's car. And he told them, I'm going by what my daughter said. She wasn't trying to get him in trouble. She was more or less saying that God saved her. She said he punched it one time, like he said, like he hit the gas, and he said how, he wanted to see how fast his mom's car would go, or look how fast her car will go, or something like that. And they're on country roads, where it's curvy and things like that. And my daughter was sitting in the back seat, and she told him, please stop. Don't do that anymore. Please don't do it. Like, that's scary. I don't like it. And he promised. He said he wasn't going to do that anymore. And even my son-in-law told him, that's not cool. Let's don't do that. And anyway, my daughter said that they rode for like maybe 5 minutes. And she said she just felt this wave come over her. And she said she just started praying. She just started praying to God to please protect them. Even though he said he wasn't going to do it again. But he did. He punched it. And like I said, the car goes 0 to 100 like really, really fast. And he told, the last thing my son-in-law remembers when he punched it, that he said 100 and 100, 110, 120, counting up how fast they were going. And I believe it because I had an Infiniti, the same make, model as that car. And you could just barely tap the gas and you were already like, you had to really, it could go. Well, of course, he lost control, going, they think 130. They went into, like, they lost control going 130 miles an hour. They literally missed a telephone pole. When I say this much, like, you can see where their tires hit the embankment, like, if you run off the road, there's like a little tiny ditch. Well, so here's the telephone pole, and you can see where their tires hit. And literally, it was like that close from hitting the telephone pole. Had they hit the telephone pole going 130, they probably would have been dead on the impact. Well, when they hit that embankment, the car went up, down, and up. Well, they're out in the country, so there's fields, like where farmers farm. Well, you can tell where they hit that embankment, and then you can see, like, way down the field where they hit the first time, right? Then the car bounced back up, and you can tell where they hit the second time, which was far away from the first time. And then the third impact, I think, is when it stopped. But they said it hit 3 times, but it landed a football in a field, like 1 football field and a half away from where they went off the road. Well, the car supposedly, instead of hitting, like it hit face down, then up, and it just bounced, right? Well, when they landed, my daughter apparently, my son-in-law said that she was knocked out. I mean, she had her seatbelt on, the airbags all deployed, but he couldn't get her to wake up. He was in the back seat, and he said the car was on fire, the engine. They had to climb out of the sunroof due to how they landed. And luckily he had a pocket knife on him, and he was able to cut her seatbelt off. I don't know if they landed on their side. I'm not quite sure. But he had to slap her in her face and she did wake up, but he had to cut her seatbelt off of her. Well, his foot was lodged, like he couldn't get out, but he did pass her to his friend. And then they went to go run, and they realized that he couldn't get out, so they ran back, yanked him out the car, and they said that's probably what did damage, because he ended up having to have surgery on his ankle. But his friend did lift him, I guess, on the shoulder or whatever, and they took off running. And as they were running from the fire, or the car blew up. And then they said it landed somewhere else. Yeah. But the car blew up. Had they only been a few seconds later, they would have blown up with the car. Had he not been able to, if he didn't have a knife in his pocket, he probably, my daughter and her Neil husband probably would have blown up in the car. So when I got the phone call, my husband, thank God he was home that night. Of course, we took off to the scene, and it was so many police cars and fire trucks and everything you could imagine. And I had to walk down this long road because the ambulance was actually on another little side road. So I had to walk way down this road, and all I could do was just go as fast as I could and try to get to my daughter. She was in the back of an ambulance. Actually, all three of them were. And right time I opened up that ambulance door, all I smelled was liquor. I mean, not beer, but straight up, like, you know, brown liquor. You know, that whiskey, that's kind of smell. And I was so ticked off. But not ticked off. I mean, I was grateful that they were all fine. But I could smell it. That was the first thing I said, is I smell alcohol. I had already spoken to my daughter on the telephone, so I knew she was okay. But they walked away. My son-in-law broke his ankle. He had to get it screwed back together. My daughter broke her wrist. And the driver of the car did not have any injuries at all. I mean, he went and got checked out at the hospital. But he wouldn't do the breathalyzer. He wouldn't give blood work. The judge he was at his house, beat the ambulance to the hospital. You know. I mean, I understand trying to protect your children. But from what I understand, it didn't protect him. Like he still didn't kind of change his ways. That was a very pivotal moment in my daughter's life and her Neil husband's. Like, they quit hanging out with all of their old friends. Not that their friends were horrible, but they stopped. They were like, you know, we're past that. We're not, life is too Like, we're not doing that anymore. And so, of course, they're very anti-drinking and driving. And, I mean, rightfully so. I mean, can you imagine? They said as they were running, and the car blew up. She said they weren't too far away from it. And then she said they were in the field, and when the police officers showed up, there were some homes. They called 911, the houses on the road. Somebody was sitting on the front porch and saw the wreck happen. Some home security systems caught the crash. They said the police officer, there's no telling what the people who witnessed the accident, I mean, although they were kind of far away, there's no telling what they told the dispatcher, because when the car crashed, it didn't take 10 minutes for the car to blow up, you know? It was like they landed and they got out, took off running, and it exploded. So I have a feeling that the people probably were on the phone with 911 and said, oh my gosh, the car exploded. Like, we just witnessed a bad car accident and the car's on fire. Oh my gosh, it just blew up. You get what I'm saying? And so when the police officer got to the scene, they were yelling. They were like, hey, we're back here. We're over here. And he went running to them through that field. And he got down on his hands and knees, and he thanked God, and he started crying. He thought he was going to a scene where people died, and there's these 3 little teenagers that didn't have a scratch on them. But in the ER, the nurse that took care of my child that night, her daughter got killed in a car accident. She was the same age as my daughter, and it was horrible. It wasn't a drinking and driving. Somebody ran a stop sign and hit them. And now they put a roundabout in that area because there have been so many accidents. And, but her little girl didn't make it. And then here she is taking care of my child that did make it. She was so sweet and so compassionate. And my child really didn't have a scratch on her. Nothing. You would have thought, going that fast, hitting that hard. She had an MRI. She had a CAT scan that night. But then later on in the week, we had an MRI. But she just broke her wrist. She had lots of post-stress, what is it called? What's that? Post-stress. I always get it wrong. Post-stress. I don't know. I can't remember. Let me know in the comments. PTSD. Post-traumatic stress syndrome. That's what she has. Like, you have no idea. She already had anxiety before that accident. Her anxiety was through the roof. She still has post-traumatic stress syndrome. She doesn't like driving. She likes to go slow. She's just very, very, very cautious. But she said something came over her like a wave, and she just started praying. Dear God, please let us be okay. Please let us be okay. And then she said he did it again. And he had promised not to do it anymore. She said she had begged him not to do it. You know? And, teenagers act stupid. And some of them make it and some of them don't. But what's so traumatic about this whole story is the person that was driving the car that night. I would say it was about 4 years ago. He, his girlfriend, driving his mom's car, went to go pick up food, and she got in a car accident. But they couldn't get her out of the car, and she burned up. She burned alive. They said that you could hear her screaming. And I don't know why that happened. I don't know why he would have those two incidences happen to him in his life. He did try to get my son-in-law, when my son-in-law was reached into the back seat trying to get my daughter out. He was telling my son, hurry up, leave her, we've got to go, the car's going to blow up, leave her. I guess since she was passed out or knocked out, maybe he thought she was dead, I don't know. But he was telling my son-in-law to leave her in the car. And, of course, my son-in-law wouldn't have done that. But I don't know. I don't know what... Anyway, they say he's not really doing good at all now. He didn't really do much better. You know, he didn't grow up. He still stayed kind of childish. But, and then they said when he met this girl, he settled down a little bit and he was doing good. Well, a lot better. But now they say it's bad, like really bad. Like I think he went even deeper. Instead of drinking alcohol, I think he is bad on drugs, which is sad, but I get it. Lord, I can't even imagine, honestly. Can you? You survive a crash, a fiery crash, and then not only you survive a fiery crash, you also don't get in any trouble. He didn't get arrested. He, everything, he didn't have to blow. Nothing went to trial. Nobody called and questioned my children or my daughter about the case. Like, you know, was he drinking? Nobody asked any questions. And I know it's because he knew, because of the judge, right? I mean, come on, we all know that. Had it been me or my child, it would have been bad, right? I guess they felt like since no one got fatally hurt or permanently handicapped, then, you know, it was okay. But it didn't teach that little guy a lesson, though, because he was still continuing to do things. You know, I had to drive my daughter and her boyfriend places because they were afraid to drive. You know, he did get out of it quicker, but my daughter really didn't. That's one of the reasons I go pick up my granddaughter every day from school. But, yeah. I don't know why those pictures popped up. I have not been on my iPad in so long. And those pictures showed up and I said, wow, I am so lucky. You know, there are times in your life that are pivotal. I wouldn't say that that was a pivotal moment for me personally, which it was. It made me more worried at night, especially when the baby started going places. But it could have been a lot worse. But it was such a pivotal moment in my daughter's life. Like, and my son-in-law's. That was a big moment. But I remember as a teenager, I was in a car, and the person driving took off. He passed a police officer, We were way out in the country. He passed a police officer, and the police officer, I guess he saw in the rearview mirror, hit his brake lights, right? So he knew he was going to turn around and come get him for speeding. And he wasn't speeding fast, I don't think, at that moment. But what he decided to do was floor it. I've never been so scared in my life. He had a sports car. I can't remember what kind. And I remember getting down in the back seat with put my head, I don't know if it would have helped. I had my feet and my knees in the floorboard with my head in the back seat with my hands like this. I mean, we were going so fast and we were telling him to stop. Well, we didn't. I mean, we ended up at my friend's that they were taking us home, and she lived way out in the boondocks. And so we finally got to her house, and when we pulled up in her driveway and we were sitting there for a while, we saw the police officer come to the stop sign. You could see it over a field with his light on. He was still looking for us because he saw us take off. He was definitely going to get us then. But we could have all crashed and burned that night. And I didn't want to go that fast. My husband got a sports car probably about a year before he retired. Little convertible. And it would go fast too, apparently. But I told him he's not going fast with me in the car. And he said, well, I can if I want to. And I said, no, you can't. I mean, you can take me home and then go and do whatever you want. But you can't drive like that with me in the car. So I woke up one day going around that. He said, you might want to wake up. Every time we would go riding with the top down, I would fall asleep. I was not a cool convertible rider. My gray hair would be flopping in the wind, and I would fall asleep. And anyway, he woke me up. He said, you might want to wake up. And I said, why? And he said, look in the rearview mirror. And I looked, and we had been pulled. The cop was behind us. Well, anyway, he got us going 55 in a 45 or something. Coming around that roundabout, my husband punched it. Not around the roundabout, but right time he came out. So he got a speeding ticket for going 55, which I think is funny. But anyway, I just saw those photos and I thought I'd share that. Like I said, some things change you for life. Some things make you grateful. Some things you don't understand. You know, I have a friend whose son died when he was 15 years old. My very best friend. The little boy that named me JuJu. So, I mean, we just don't. You know, that ER nurse, her little girl had grown up in the same, like with my daughter. Why her and not my daughter? I don't know. God has got a plan for all of us. And sometimes children die, and sometimes they don't. And then sometimes people are married for 55 years, and then sometimes they're only married for 33 years. It just makes no sense. Sometimes the people that you would think that would be the healthiest in the world end up getting sick. I don't know, it's just crazy. You just don't know, do you? But just be grateful for every day that you have. I know this is kind of a little, but who cares? It's okay. I mean, I saw those pictures and I just had to share. But I thought that was very share-worthy, I guess. Anyway, y'all have a great day. And God bless you and God keep you. And if you ever feel that feeling, just start praying. Either way, whatever the outcome, talk to God. Let Him in. He'll be right there with you. Bye.